Welcome back, guys. So the first thing we want to design on our website is the navigation menu, which is the header. So right now we're going to apply all our styles to our design, from the logo to everything. So let me ungroup this. I'm going to ungroup this. I'm going to ungroup them all, and we have them ungrouped right here. So these two was grouped, so I'm going to ungroup them all, and let's apply the styles. So right now this will be a blue color, so the stroke of this will be a blue color, of course. So the text and everything is right here. So all I have to do is to apply the style. So we could just leave the style of the logo itself, but let's change the stroke color. So let me change the stroke color right here. I'm going to change it to, so let me change it to, okay, so let me change the stroke color right here. I'm going to come to my libraries, and having to come to my libraries, I'll be able to use the styles I created. So you could see all our styles are right there. So I'm going to use this primary color, yeah, to change that, and that has been changed. And the color within, so I'm going to come to the fill. I'm going to come to my libraries to change the color inside of it. So I'm going to change that color as well. So let's say, okay, what I want to do right now is to make sure the colors are like in diverse colors. So we're going to have this. So let me just have the accepted color. Okay, what I want to do is this. So let me just have the fill color. Let me have a fill color. So let me just come back here. So I'm going to have a fill color right here. So let me just change that. So let me say the fill color for this will be the, let's come to the library. So it will be the, yes, let's make it the, okay, let's make it this blue color. Yes, that will be the color, and this won't have a stroke anymore. So I'm going to remove the stroke, and I'm going to add a fill color right now. So the fill color will be this yellow. Yes, let's make it the yellow, and this would have the blue fill color. So this will be changed to like the yellow, of course. So that will be changed to like the yellow, and this would not have a stroke. So we are just redesigning the logo. So let's remove the stroke right now, and let's add a fill color. So the fill color would come to libraries, will be the primary color, yes, and these two, this will be the primary color as well. So we could just redesign our logo just to make sure the color fits into our major colors. So let's have this. So this color will be a yellow color as well. So let's come to our libraries, and to be the secondary color, and this will be changed to like, okay, let's remove that stroke, yeah, and come to the fill. The fill will be changed to like the yellow color. Okay, no, the fill will be changed to the primary color. So the primary color would have the fill, and there we are. So we have the BCS, and that will be the main. This is a creative studio, and this will be the color. So there we are, and this, we are going to change the fill to the primary color. Come to libraries, they are going to change to a primary color, and here our logo is intact. So we're going to have our logo right now, and now we can group it the way we wanted to group it. So I'm going to just group it right now, and I will just use the group selection. I'll use Ctrl G. I'm going to group that, and I'm going to name it the logo. So I'm going to rename it. I'm going to name it the logo, PCS logo. So now we can export the actual logo. So this will be the actual logo. So right now all we have to do is to click on export, and I'm going to export this right now. So let's export it. We have the black and white already, so let's export this. So I'm going to export this right now, and I have that exported. So let me see what I exported. Coming to my download, this is the new refinement that is going to suit our color style, and it's looking great so far. So I'm going to bring that into the BCS okay project. So this will be the logo, yes, main. Let's name it logo main, so it comes inside here. So we have this. So we are gathering our design assets already. So coming back here, we have the logo. All I have to do is to make it smaller. Yes, I can make it smaller if I want to. So let's ungroup that. Let's ungroup this. Yeah, let's ungroup. So I'm going to ungroup it right now. Click on it all, and I'm going to have it ungrouped here. So I'm going to highlight all this, and let's see if we could make it smaller. Wow, so all these are not auto framed, that's why it's doing this way. So let's give it a frame that right now. So let's give it a frame selection, and this is a frame selection right now. so we could easily, okay, so let me just ungroup them all, ungroup, and I'll give it a frame selection. So let me give it a frame selection. Yes, and here's a frame selection. So let me just try to design the auto layout of the frame selection that we just gave it. So give it a frame selection, and this would just create a component, use as marks, and just do some settings. We're going to have some things to be set, and let's just ungroup all this. Yeah, let me ungroup all this and have the main logo brought in. So we could delete all this. Since we have the logo, all we have to do is to bring it in when we start our design. So let me just make sure this is to fit. So I'm going to zoom to fit. So right now let's add the layout grid. So I'm going to just click on the layout grid to add that. So let's add our layout grid first. So coming back here, I want to set up the layout grid, and here's the layout grid. So I'm going to just say grid style. So we're going to come here, so we're going to set up the layer. So right now we have the layer, so I have to make sure it's the desktop I'm setting up. So I'll rename this will be renamed to the home page. This will be the home page. So it says home page. Yes, we're going to rename it home page, and there we are. So right now I want to give it the effects. So let's see, okay, I want to give it the layout grid. So I'm going to just close this, and all I want to do is to access this. I'm going to access this. So what I want to do is to add the layout grid style that we did earlier on. That's what I did. So this is how I did it. I clicked on layout grid plus. So before you add a layout grid, you might be confused how to do that. You have to make sure your frame is selected for you to see this. So once you select your frame, you're going to add layout grid. You're going to use the plus button to add layout grid, but that will not be it. So you're going to just access the style. You're going to access the style from here, and this is the one we created for ourselves. So you're going to use this, and this is what we created. This is the layout grid with the 40 pixels margin and 20 pixels gutter. So this is what the layout grid looks like, and we just added that to it. And right now we want to create our first, the first thing we want to create is the navigation panel. So let's create our navigation panel. So the navigation panel could be a blue, could be any of these colors, but let's create our first navigation panel. So I'm going to use the rectangle button here. I'm going to use the rectangle button, and I'm going to create the first navigation right here, and that is the first navigation. I'm going to give it its color. So coming to this, I'm going to say fill, and I'm going to access the libraries. Then I'm going to give it the primary color. So the navigation will carry the primary color. I think this is good for navigation. Yes, so let's have something like this for the navigation. So right now we can bring in the logo we designed. So I could bring in this is without Creative Studio, but how would this stand on this? Because this color is, you know, all I want to do now is to use the supporting color, of course. So I'm going to use the supporting color instead of the primary color. So let's use the supporting color right now. So that's the supporting color. So I can bring in the logo right now. So bringing this in, all I have to do is come, bring it in, and try to drop it here. So I'm going to drop it there, and this will be our logo. Yes, Ctrl Z. So let's leave it to what it was. So this is Ctrl Z, and let me just make it smaller. Okay, so Ctrl Z. So let me just resize it from here. So I could just name this a 20. Okay, so it's going to, when we turn this on, the size will be normal. So let's make it like 100. So make sure this is turned on so you don't distort the creative design itself. So let's make it a 150. Then let's make the logo a 150. So that's I think a 150 will be good. Let's see if that fits in. So here we have it. So that will be our first thing. So that's the logo right here. So we have the logo. So I'm just going to zoom to like 100% just to see what we have. So I'm going to use the hand tool to move this so I can see what we are doing right now. So here we are. So we're working on the navigation panel, and here we are. So I'm going to come back to my move tool. So I'll make sure this starts from here, from this grid line. So it's going to start from here, and that will be the logo parts. Yes, so we just designed the logo and the other pages. So right now we have the logo itself, And if we want to do it, we could make it be in the middle. The logo itself could be in the middle while other things shift to the center or that. But right now, let's just leave it at this. So it's going to be right there. So let's leave it at that, and let's come to the side panel. So right now I want to create the other text like the home page, the service page, the about us, and the blog page. So let's do that right now. So I'm going to create a test. So right now it's all about test. So we're going to create a test right now, and the test would have every other thing. So we're going to create our home page. Yes, so we're going to have the home page, of course. So all I have to do is to use the necessary, so let's use the necessary like guide. So we have our style guide already. So I'm going to come to fill, and having to come to fill, I'm going to access the library, and this time around we are going to use the, let's use the primary color. Let me use the primary color on this. So I'm going to control A this, and having to control A that, I'm going to access the libraries, and I'm going to use the primary color on that. So I'm going to have the home. Yeah, we're going to have the home and the text. Like, let's access the style for typography. So the typography will be the subheadings or the body text. So let's see what the body text looks like. No, so let's access the typography again. So let's access the typography again. So I'm going to just click on this and say this won't work. Yeah, so let me just control A this, and let me do the body again. So this time around it will be the, let's do the subheading. Let's see what the subheadings looks like. So no, let's make it a body test. So it's going to be body test, and we can make sure that's be it, and we're going to have our home right here. So that will be the home. And okay, so let me take it to like zoom to fit. So let's see what we are having. So we're going to have the home right here, but I don't vibe with that. So all I want to do now is to make sure this test improves. So all I want to do now is to add a new test style. So let's add a new test style right now. Another thing came up, so we're going to add a new test style for the navigation. So let me add test, and I'll name it like, I'll name it optional. So I'll name it heading. Okay, I'm going to name it subheadings. Yeah, it's going to be subheadings, and it's going to be subheadings. I'm going to name it H3. Yeah, so we have the H3 and everything. So I can say this will be for navigation. Okay, so let's say it's going to be for navigation, and it's going to be Roboto. Of course, it's going to be Roboto, but this time around it's going to be like bolded. So let's make sure it's bolded, and let's make sure, okay, we can just leave it as semi bold or just leave it as medium. So we're going to make this like an, let's make it like a 24. Let's say 24 will not be bad, so let's make it like a 24, and I'll create that style. So right now let me just click on this and change the style of the typography. So coming back here, I'm going to change the style of the typography to this, and here we are. So this will be the 24, and all I have to do is to make sure it comes this way. So this will be the home. So let me just input the home the way it should be. So this will be the home, and yeah, so that will be the home. So I'll control D that, and having to control D is going to create another test for me. So I'm going to just come right here. So the next test will be like an about us. Yes, so this will be about us. Yes, so that will be an about us page. So let me just make sure it is properly aligned, and this I'll control D again, and the about us I'm going to change from about us is going to be, it's going to be services. Yeah, it's going to be services, and from services is going to be blog. I'm going to control D to have that, and I'm going to come back here, and this will be like a blog. Yeah, so I'm going to change that to like a blog, and here we are. So all I have to do, I can turn off the layout grid if I want to. So all I want to do now is to come back here, and yeah, I'm going to come back to my design, to the home page. So let me just click on that, and turn this off. So I'm going to turn off the layout grid. So I'm going to hide the eyes, and so far this is what we've done so far. Does it look good? Now you'll be the one to decide that. So let's come back here to our layout grid. Just turn that on back, so to have a neat design. So I'm going to zoom this to like 100. So coming back here, we're going to use the hand to move around. So let me just move around. So this is the Billard Creative Studio, of course, and this we could use some alignment properties. So coming back to move to select the elements, and I want to use some align properties. So we have the appearance, we have every other thing. So this should be changed like a 120. Let's see what a 120 would look like, which is not looking bad at all. So this is a 120, and we're going to leave it at that, of course. So let's make it a 120, and right now we could select this, and having to select that, we see is an image, and here in the alignment we could align it to the align left, yes, and we could align it to this. Okay, Control Z. It could be aligned to the left, and this could be in vertical center. So let's see what that means. Align top, align center. No, so it's vertical center. So we're going to just leave this for now. Control Z. So we're going to have this. So let's just use the line grid to layer that. So we're going to have this here, and we're going to come right here, and this would be layered somewhere here. So we're going to layer this somewhere here, and this should be somewhere here, yes, and services should be like somewhere here. So services should be somewhere here, and the blog should be somewhere here. So what I want to do now is to control shift, and I'll shift and hold. So let me hold this first with my mouse. I'll click on that, then I'll shift and hold this just to select them. Shift and hold this, shift and hold this. I have them all selected, and right now what I want to do now is to make sure they are evenly spaced and other things, so we could do all that. So let's see what we are going to have. So this is the spacing right here. So the spacing from here, we could actually work on the spacing. So let's do some work on the spacing. So we have auto height, we have auto width, we have fixed size of this. So let's say we have that, and we have this is rotate, this is flip horizontal, this is flip vertically, and these are positioning. So from here we have 4 selected. So multi-edit test, select matching layout, apply variables, and we could see every other thing you could do from here. So you could use it to create components and all that, but let's leave all that for now. So right now we have the alignment, we have the distribute vertical spacing. So let's see the tidy up, and the tidy up will give us an equal spacing for that. That's what we just did. So let's say distribute vertical spacing, distribute horizontal spacing, and there we have that. So we have all this, and I think the spacing is okay right now. So let's see what we have so far. So let's turn off the layout grid and see what the navigation menu looks like for now. So this is zoom to, so let me just zoom back to fit. So that's what we have. So this is what we have so far. So all I have to do is to click on this, click on this, click on this, click on this. So I'll shift it to the edge. So let me just shift just that to the edge, so we have something like this, and this way we just created the navigation menu. So this could be something like this. We could add a button, actually, yes, we could add a button. So right now this is what it looks like, but let me just shift it right here. So we're going to have something like this, and yeah, so let's turn on the layout grid so that we can have it at the very edge. So let me turn this on, and let me click on this. I'll shift all this, shift all this, shift all this. So we're going to have it to the edge, so it's going to be at the very edge of this. So we're going to have something like this. I think this looks good. So we're going to have something like this, and let's turn off the layout grid to see our navigation menu. So these are navigation menus so far. The home, about us, services, blog is right here. So let me just see what we have in between. So we're going to say yeah and yeah. Okay, so we're going to have all this and make sure everything is okay. So control to zoom 50. So let's see what we have right here, and yeah, there we are. So our design is looking good so far. So let me just see what we have. Okay, so the red line would give you a layout guideline. So that is a layout guideline from the red line. So we have this. So this is what we have so far, and we've designed our navigation menu. So you could actually select them all, just this part. You could select it all, then give it a frame selection. So let's give it a frame selection, and let's name it navigation panel. So I'm going to name it navigation bar. So it's going to be navigation bar or heading. So let's make it a navigation bar. So that is a component right there. You could create it as a component, and you could just do is a frame selection, as you could see. So we could create it as a component right now. So we could say this could be created as a component, as you could see. You could select matching layer, you could create components. So let's create it as a component. So right now I just created it as a component, so it could be reused. When you access all this, you could reuse the component, and you could add variants, components configuration. So you could say this is a component configuration, but just leave that for now. It's just a component that could be accessed anyway. Yes, we've done that. That's our navigation bar. I hope to see in the next lesson where we design the hero section of the desktop website. I hope to see you in the next lesson. See you there.